Hello, welcome to my channel where we may be dazed, but we are not confused. We are going to do a Find Your Oasis reading for the sign of Scorpio. So the purpose of this reading is to give you some insight into a situation where you might feel like you are stuck. You don't know what direction that you need to go into. You may be lacking support or the vision to see clearly whatever it is that you are in so that you can take steps to move in a positive direction or one that's just going to better serve you. So, what we're going to look at is why it is that you may be currently in a desert like situation, what it feels like to you, what lessons you could possibly learn while you are here, the steps you could take to get on the path to finding some peace and some respite in the form of an oasis, and what that oasis might feel like for you. All right. So, Scorpio, the reason that you are currently in a desert-like situation is because you are looking at the big picture of some sort of event or circumstance that happened in your past. And I feel like whatever the big picture is that you're getting of this, it's leaving you in a place that is kind of leading to resentment. I feel like you are resentful about the fact that you maybe did not get to see the big picture, that there were some things that were hidden from you that caused you not to soar in the way in which you feel that you could have if you would have had some information, if you would have been able to change a circumstance that you kind of didn't have any control over because you weren't able to see it clearly. All right. Um, this could be a family situation, it could be a work situation, it could be a romantic situation, but the main thing about this is that this is something that happened during a period in your life where people tend to look at, the good old days, whatever that time period is for you. And it's different for different people. And it means different things for different people. It's very subjective. It's very much based off of whatever your experience was at that time and the kind of life that you were living. But I just feel like there may have even been something that in your youthfulness and naivete, you believe to be a good thing. But when you look back at it and you're getting the bigger picture, you're seeing something much more dark and sinister to that. It has a different tinge to it. And this has you in a place of maybe, I'm picking up maybe like an identity crisis. Maybe you're having to, reset all of the beliefs that you held about a time period in your life that actually used to bring you a lot of nostalgic joy. Like you would look back on it, like we said, like this was the good old days. But when you do closer introspection, you can kind of pick apart the parts that were not so great and that from a bigger perspective were actually probably quite detrimental. So what this feels like for you is I feel like you almost feel the need to rush in and just clear the air about this. Like rush in, let people know just how unhappy you are now about this newly discovered unhappiness that you're experiencing at this point. Because I feel like this was something that you may not have been aware that you were unhappy about. Until you got a bigger picture and you were able to see it differently. It's like having on rose-colored lenses and then taking them off and then seeing what is actually going on. I'm also picking up that movie Pleasantville. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. It's worth watching. It's a film that takes place in the 50s and it's supposed to be like the good old days. The whole movie is filmed in like black and white and it's very white picket fence suburbia, that typical trope of what that was. But then as these two characters are kind of being true to themselves and kind of discovering who they are and what they really care about, they start to fracture the reality. And so color starts to pop out. And so the idea is that what seemed to be nostalgic and full of just meaning, like this was the one way to live and everybody was just so happy doing it, it was a very bland way of living. It was all black and white when you're actually looking at it. It was the people who decided to step outside the box and get a bigger picture and be true to themselves and how they felt in the situation, even if it meant bucking against the norms of whatever it was that the society was doing at the time. And they experienced a lot of rejection and just outright hostility because of it when they started pushing up against that. And what they would do is when they would, be themselves, like color would pop up. And now you've got this person walking around in color. You, ironically enough, we're talking about being in a desert. You were walking around with color. Okay. You went from being black and white to full blown Technicolor. And actually, I think you jumped over the step of being Technicolor. You're like 4K vivid color. Okay. From black and white. I'm thinking maybe even sepia tones, And so the difference is, instead of people jumping in on you to disrupt your happiness, you feel the need to go back and let people know, like we said, just how unhappy you are about what you've discovered about something in the past. So what is it that you're supposed to learn here? The card that I pulled here from the Mystical Shaman Oracle deck is the Wild Woman card. Now, this is not gender specific, so if you are a male and this resonates with you, please don't allow the fact that this card is titled Wild Woman to turn you off and make you feel like this is not speaking to you. We all have elements of the masculine and the feminine, and these are archetypes to help us better understand ourselves. So for the Wild Woman, the essence of this card is: when the Wild Woman dances into your reading, she reminds you of the essence of authenticity and freedom. Divested of all social constraints and cultural conformity, the Wild Woman holds up a mirror to your essential self, the true essence of who you are and who you are meant to become. She is a reminder of the bright light within each of us that gets dimmed by the restrictions imposed upon us by the expectations of society. She reminds us that in order to be fully present to life, we must uncover that light and let it shine brightly, regardless of the perceived consequences. When the Wild Woman comes to dance in your reading, you are invited to shine brightly and to know that your true self is being called out to engage the world. This is a symbol that your long-held dream is beginning to take root and wants to be expressed. Your authentic self doesn't fit in a box. It needs the freedom to shine. It's time to have courage and step into the light. The Wild Woman says, shine brightly, dance with abandon, be yourself, and let the Great Spirit decide what happens. You'll be happy that you did. Excess for its own sake is a sign of imbalance. This is a warning that you may be trapped in obsessive thinking or behavior, looking for release in places that will never provide it. Let go, lest you become like the hungry ghost of Chinese Buddhist lore that can never be filled. True release comes from trusting the fluidity of life, understanding that just as a river needs its banks to flow through, so too do you need boundaries around your thinking and behavior. Now is the time to simplify, be mindful, and connect to that light within. Okay? All right. So the feather guide that you have here is basically going to share with us what steps that you might be able to take to get you one step closer to that oasis that you're looking for in your desert situation. And so the type of feather that's here to help guide you is a feather from the meadowlark. It says, "Smile. You will soon experience a wonderful journey of inner discovery." So let's take a look at the book. I also read from the book for the Wild Woman card just because I feel like the message is very good and I want to give that to you direct. So for the meadowlark, it says, "The meadowlark messenger is in its true essence cheerful. Its bright yellow breast is the color of sunshine, positivity, and a cheery disposition. It also marks the solar plexus chakra. The inner journey is one to the self and the discovery of deeper awareness, intuition, and innate abilities. Because it sings while it flies, unlike most birds that sing from their perch, the meadowlark is associated with playfulness and a light-hearted nature." The message: Meadowlark pops in to share the good news. You are in for a wonderful adventure of self-discovery. This experience may be connected to your spiritual path, your intuition, or a greater sense of self-knowing. It can also be an unfolding of inner creativity and new projects. What is it that makes you smile? Are you ready for the next phase of your development? Meadowlark shows you that this growth comes from a place of inner strength, confidence, and wonder. Use your sense of playfulness, too, in this discovery. It will help you to sing and fly at the same time. So the energies that are associated with this bird and this feather are self-development and cheerfulness. And the season that you might work with this in is summer. Certainly you can work with it whenever, but this is just giving you some correspondences. The element is earth and air. The color is black, yellow, and white. And the affirmation is, "I choose to treasure the welcome gift of my own inner light." All right. So your oasis, when you get there, is the sense of knowing that I am beautiful. Okay. So let's take a look at what it says for that. Okay. When I look into the mirror today, I will smile and say, "Ta-da! I am beautiful because I am one of a kind. I am beautiful because I was made out of light. And I am beautiful because I am loved by the one who made me." So overall, you are coming into a sense of recognizing that everything is not what you may have thought it to be, and a time when you may have conformed to the desires of a greater collective or social environment that was kind of pressuring you to be inside of a certain mold, recognizing that that was not your highest and best expression of yourself, getting to a place of recognizing that it may have caused you some sense of resentment because you didn't realize that until much later. You are now in a place where you are able to be in the full energy of your self-expression and being who you are and not being worried about what other people have to say about it and how you're received, while also recognizing the limits of that and not going too far with it, whereas it becomes self-destructive to your person. And this is going to lead you to a greater understanding of just the inherent beauty and value and worth of who you are just because you exist, just because you're here, just because you were created to fit into the space that you live in, not by conforming to what everybody else is doing and trying to fit into a mold, but by being who you are naturally and allowing the reality around you to have a little pop of color just because you're there. All right, Scorpio, that is what I have for you, and I hope it was very helpful. Um, Thank you for joining me on this channel where we may be days, but we are not confused. Until the next video, see you next time.